What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in once again to this episode. If it is your first time listening, be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We put out sporting news every single week across a range of different sports. We've got the NBA, we've got NFL, AFL when the season is on, obviously football as well, soccer for those that are in Australia and America, and finally, usually the WWE, where I guess a lot of things are ramping up there at most. So why not start with that? And yeah, be sure to subscribe wherever you do get your podcast to listen to all this once again. But the WWE news coming out, I've just come off watching the first episode of Monday Night Raw for the week. Usually Raw comes out. Last week, I said it was an amazing episode. We obviously had John Cena winning the Intercontinental title. We had the Kabuki Warriors winning the women's tag team titles. And this episode, I think for me, blew last week's one out of the park. And it's very hard for that to happen when I think these are the two best episodes of Raw this year. It was at Madison Square Garden, so they obviously wanted to come out with a bang, being in the world's most famous arena, sold out crowd, high energy in New York City. John Cena starting the episode with a dream tag team or six-man tag match between the Judgment Day of Dom Mysterio, Finn Balor, and JD McDonough, taking on John Cena, Sheamus, and Rey Mysterio. What an unbelievable three-way team. It just really threw it back for me. And it was just great to see John Cena have the opportunity to team up with two guys that he's had long-standing histories with, especially back in those rivalries with Sheamus, where Sheamus defeated John Cena in a table match to win his first WWE Championship, and obviously Rey Mysterio and John Cena growing up together as probably the main two baby faces on the roster. It's been an incredible sort of throwback moment and feel-good moment for those guys to tag together in a match where this is setting up for John Cena to defend his title against Dominic Mysterio at Survivor Series, which we're going to see Dom Mysterio get his rematch that he probably does deserve. I did say that this title was hand-given to John Cena. He has a chance to win it back. I hope he does. I really hope he gets his title back, and it really is for that feel-good moment. But again, we got to see that, which was unbelievable as well. Gunther returned, which was amazing. He made his first appearance since, I think it was SummerSlam, when he lost to CM Punk, taking on Javon Evans and making quick work of him. Javon Evans is a young and upcoming NXT superstar who I think is going to be on the main roster really, really soon because he's doing an incredible job every time he's come onto the main roster and featured in matches. We had Nick Nemeth, or better known Dolph Ziggler, return as his character to take on Solo Sikoa. Now, he didn't get the victory, but last week we had Zack Ryder, aka Matt Cardona, make a surprise appearance on SmackDown, and we expected this to happen at Monday Night Raw, which it did, and the crowd was really hot for it. We had Dolph Ziggler returning, the king of selling, the king of the counters. It was just incredible to see him back in the WWE ring as well. And again, he didn't get the win. Solo Sikoa does advance to the next round, but it was just a feel-good feeling just to see someone like Dolph Ziggler back into WWE. Hopefully he can come back again, and maybe as his real name, which is Nick Nemeth now. And I think that's a lot better for the character because Dolph Ziggler's a blast from the past, let's be honest. We then had AJ Lee returning to help Maxine Dupree win the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Becky Lynch. And it looks like that's going to be setting up an eventual Women's War Games match where we have Becky Lynch probably on the heel side with the Kabuki Warriors, with Nia Jax, with Lash Legend, and AJ Lee with Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss. Now, we saw Rhea Ripley have backstage conversations with AJ Lee, potentially to discuss War Games in what will be a star-studded women's face lineup. I think one of the strongest ever women's lineups to go into War Games, in my opinion, for the upcoming Survivor Series, which is in 2 weeks. And I'm super keen to really, really see that occur. In saying that, we did see what happened on SmackDown with Charlotte Flair questioning whether she's going to be part of the team or not due to history with Rhea Ripley. But it looks like now that Charlotte Flair came out and with the kendo stick to help the women attack or fight off the Kabuki Warriors, Nia Jax, and Lash Legend, it looks as though Charlotte Flair is back in the fold, which is amazing. So we're going to have that star-studded War Games lineup with the total members of Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, AJ Lee, hopefully, that hasn't been confirmed yet, but it looks like we're steering to that direction. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky taking on Lash legend Nia Jax, the Kabuki Warriors of Asuka and Kairi Sane, and most likely Becky Lynch to round up the fifth member. That's going to be a pretty awesome War Games, if you ask me, and I think I'm really keen for that. We also have the Nikki Bella heel turn, which we spoke about last week, suits her character a lot more. She's going to be taking on Stephanie Vaquer for the Women's World Championship at Survivor Series as well. And we cap off with probably the moment of the night. If you didn't think all that was amazing, just wait to what I told you at the end. We had CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso facing off against Bronson Reed, Bron Breakker, Logan Paul, and Drew McIntyre, who got announced on SmackDown as the fourth member for the War Games team of the Vision. And then we expected it, but it was always great to see. The fifth member came out, and that was Brock Lesnar. So Brock Lesnar caps off the Vision's team at War Games. And then we thought it was over. We thought Brock Lesnar came out, dominated, smacked up CM Punk, smacked up Cody Rhodes. And then we got the Tribal Chief, the Vision, Roman Reigns coming out to the ring and making the save on Team CM Punk, which, again, there's a lot of storyline. There's a lot of friction between CM Punk and Roman Reigns. We also had a bit of a friction between the Usos and Roman Reigns. So how Roman Reigns is going to fit into the fold, even with Cody Rhodes, have got a long history, is going to be super interesting. But they all have one common enemy, and that is freaking Paul Heyman, who's coordinating the whole shop, building his War Games team, which is incredible, while also, yeah, I guess being against all those former Paul Heyman guys in CM Punk, Roman Reigns, even the Usos, if you want to count them, and Cody Rhodes by default as well. So, yeah, an amazing Monday Night Raw. We had new champions. We had setups for new matches and Survivor Series. We had War Games taking shape. We had the Last Time Is Now tournament still popping up. There was literally so much. Like, everything that was happening in this episode of Monday Night Raw was not a filler. And we usually see that happening on a regular basis. In this case, it did not happen. And for that, like, I'm extremely excited to see what's going to be happening at War Games in 2 weeks. And the only caveat that I have is I feel bad for LA Knight, who he was someone that was part of the Vision storyline for the whole year. And he feels like he got snubbed out for Cody Rhodes or for Jimmy Uso, if you want to make an argument. The only thing I will say is that I feel like the injury of Seth Rollins really ruined what was happening with War Games, and they had to pivot real quick, bring in Cody Rhodes, bring in Drew McIntyre to fill that up, because I genuinely would have been convinced that LA Knight and Seth Rollins would have been there instead of Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre, because out of everyone that's on the card, I feel as though those two are the biggest outliers. They're like the only main stars from SmackDown. So obviously, you want your quarterback of the WWE franchise, and that is Cody Rhodes right now, be part of a War Games, but at the same time, it just feels as though that he doesn't really belong in it, which is crazy to say. And it's actually not crazy to say, but it's just a person of that status to not be part of War Games, to not say that he shouldn't be a part. It is a bigger call. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is the team. It's rounded out. It's quite stacked. Maybe I would have liked to see John Cena part of War Games, but I don't think it would have made sense for the storyline. So I'll take this iteration of the faces, and I think a heel team should win it this year. The last 2 years we've had the face teams win it. I think it's time that the heels take the win. The main reason why I'm saying this is because we have young and upcoming stars in Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, and Bron Breakker, who I think if they break out, they're going to be the future. And why not put them over now in a star-studded lineup with the Vision? You can just give Jimmy Uso the pin, if I'm honest. He's the only one that is really deserving of taking the pin. Everyone else there really deserves to really not take any pins, let's be honest. So you have someone there to take the pin. It looks as though Jimmy Uso is going to be the fall guy, and that would make complete and total sense for that. But yeah, that's quick WWE news. It's ramping up. We've got the Last Time Is Now tournament coming up soon, so a few matches to get through as well. We've got Carmella Hayes taking on Big Bronson Reed, so let's see what happens there. I feel like there'll be some sort of interference from CM Punk's team. I'm going to call it CM Punk's team because I feel as though it makes more sense for it to be CM Punk's team. And yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the news for WWE. We're really keen on it and excited to sort of continue to explore that as well. We'll do a quick quick recap, wrap up on what's going on in the NBA at the moment. I think things are starting to sort of take shape in the regular season on teams that are going to be good and teams that are not going to be good. And one team that is not going to be good and are currently right now probably the worst team in the NBA is my Washington Wizards. We just suffered a blowout loss to the Brooklyn Nets on our own home floor to give us our 11th loss in a row. Oh my gosh, this fucking team, man. Like, fuck me. Like, seriously, the Wizards are shitting me right now because, okay, we're young, we're developing, all this bullshit, but we can't fucking win a game. It's just getting so frustrating because the Brooklyn Nets are supposed to be shit and they made us look worse. And like, to do that on our own home floor, debuting our retro throwback jerseys on a retro throwback court is embarrassing. And I think times need to be sort of changed at the moment. Things need to happen because, look, I can accept being bad when we're competing, if we're a young team, not finding ways to win. But when we're getting blown out by 20 points every single game, there has to be a problem with the system and the lineup. And the first person I have to blame is our coach, Brian Keefe. I don't understand why we are just forcing minutes into CJ McCollum and Chris Middleton. They're clearly not winning us games. They're obviously there for trade bait, but it's detrimenting our team at the moment. We are getting affected big time from that because we're not seeing any development in terms of like learning how to win. We're seeing great flashes in Keyshawn George and Alex Sarr, who are looking to be some very solid players. But I say this every week, we're missing a fucking star. We don't have a star at the moment. Bob Carrington is not the star, unfortunately. He doesn't look like he's panning out, which is sad because I really like the guy. I really hope he does turn it around. I know he's still young, but he needs to get that shot going. Trey Johnson has slowed down a bit. And I think players are not playing. Like AJ Johnson's not getting any minutes. He's getting like 5 minutes a game, which is quite embarrassing as well. Will Riley can't even get into our main roster. He has to settle for the G League. So I'm just a bit concerned with the minutes at the moment and how they're going all to our veterans who are not helping us win and not benefiting the team. And it's really concerning. Like we're 1-12 at the moment. The only team that's worse than us are the Indiana Pacers. Or fuck me, them. Talk about a change. I feel so sorry for all Indiana fans. Like this has become a contrast to last season. They were one game of winning a championship. And since the last pod, they still haven't won a game. They're 1-13. I don't think they're worse than the Wizards because they have proven playoff players, but they're definitely down there with all the injuries and sort of the unsettlement of the team. But the Wizards, man, 1-12, nightmare. And that pretty much sort of encapsulates what's going on there. Looks like we're getting closer to AJ DePanster and Darren Peterson. I say that, but then we'll probably bum out and get like pick 10 based on the lottery odds. But I think we're in dire need of some change around there, whether it's a new coach, whether it's a fresh lineup, a different offensive system. The defense is bloody atrocious. I think it's the worst defensive team I've ever seen in the NBA. It's one of the worst Wizards defensive teams I've ever seen. And I've looked at some really bad defensive teams as of late with Bradley Beal in there and Kuzma. But yeah, I have no words for the Washington Wizards right now. Just simple shit and frustrating. And I'm going to continue to watch, support them as I do, because one day I think it will turn around. But it's looking real bleak right now. Like I expected us to really get some more wins on the board. I didn't expect us to be in a play-in or playoff picture, but I did have really high expectations to sort of take a big leap into next season, and it's looking really, really bad. I think we're on pace for like maybe 4 wins this season. Like we're 1-12. If we add like, for every 12, maybe 8 wins. Maybe I'm going too crazy. It is an 82 game season. We still have around just over 75 games left. So I got to chill a bit. But still, it's just annoying. And since last week, we talked about the Detroit Pistons. They haven't lost since. They're 12-2. They're firing. The Cavaliers are starting to pick it up. But the most impressive team at the moment, who's really doing a good job, or 2 teams, are the Raptors and Hawks. They're 4 wins in a row, 5 wins in a row for the Hawks. They're both 9-5, which is impressive. They've now overtaken the Knicks and the Sixers, who are all both 8-5. So the Raptors and Cavaliers are finding their sort of spark again, which I said that the Raptors were a weirdly constructed team, but it looks like it's working at the moment. So you can't help but credit what's happening there and the coach and sort of players like RJ Barrett, who are performing really well, and Scotty Barnes performing at a all-NBA level, to be honest. It's impressive what the Raptors are doing, and you got to give credit to them. Manu Quickly is also starting to become a lot better. And then you got Brendan Ingram being consistent and actually playing. So I think things are going well for the Raptors. The Cavs, I've expected to obviously be up there, but the Hawks without Trae Young have found their own, and Jalen Johnson was probably the spark player of the week last week. Eastern Conference for sure, contender there because he had a killer triple-double with multiple assists and rebounds, not even just hitting the 10 mark, hitting the 12s and 13s. Really impressive. I've always been a big fan of Jalen Johnson. He was someone that I wanted when we did go into the draft, and we didn't pick him up. I think we picked up Corey Kispert instead of him, and I'm thinking, looking back and thinking, stupid pick. Would love to have Jalen Johnson averaging 20-plus points per game in college. I don't know how he's such a late round pick, but he's killing it, and he's going to be penciled in for an all-star spot, as well as some new players like Jalen Duren. Tyrese Maxey's playing at an MVP level. Paul George has made his return, and still looks like that Maxey is the man there, and the more times they feed Maxey, the better as well. And then in terms of rookies, Conker is a sleeper rookie of the year candidate. If you look at his last 5-game stats, he's averaging over 20 points. He's shooting really efficiently from the 3-point line, and he's just become his own. I think he's shown a lot of confidence. Him and Kalkbrenner, the white guys in Charlotte, are balling out. I know they don't have a really good record, but it looks like things are going in the right direction for them. And yeah, Conker, don't be surprised if he is a rookie first team contender, because at the moment, I think he's currently the favorite for the MVP, the way he's going in the points. And no one will talk about it, but the stuff he's been doing, this is what VJ Edgecombe was doing in the first 3 games. He's been doing it on a more consistent basis, and he's performing really well. Cooper Flagg's also performing well as we move on to the West. A good transition there. But the Dallas Mavericks are just shocking. They're third last. They're 4-11. The only teams that are worse than them are the Pelicans, 2-12, who just fired Willie Green. So Willie Green finally got fired. The Pelicans fans were out for his head for such a long time, and they finally managed to get him out of there. So Joe Dumars making a big call there. I guess he's a new GM. He's going to bring in a new coach, but until Zion gets healthy, don't see them performing. Obviously, Trey Murphy's a great player. They have some good pieces around that I think can be tradable and do well on competing teams, but don't think it works well there. Jeremiah Fears is playing really well. That's impressive. And I look and I think he's doing better than Trey Johnson at the moment. Could have we got Fears instead? It's hard to say and really put pencil to that because I think Trey Johnson's in a tough situation, but Jeremiah Fears is playing really well. And I think that I look at the fact that we don't really have a point guard that's doing well, and I think maybe Fears could have helped, but at the same time, I still believe in Trey Johnson, and he's still a rookie. He's going to find his confidence and get his shot back. I'm sure of it, but he's doing really well. And yeah, again, I mentioned Zion. When he comes back, the team will be better, but they have to really consider trading this guy because he just keeps getting injured, and it's so frustrating to watch. And then we have those Sacramento Kings who I already mentioned in that over and under how shit they are, and they're just proving it right now. They're allergic to playing Keon Ellis, who I think is their best defender. I don't understand how he's not on the floor at the moment. They're just a shit show. Like, we've got Zach LaVine having troubles with the coaches, and they're like trying to get Westbrook in the lineup, forcing him in. He's playing well, but like when you have Westbrook being one of your main players, you know you're going to be struggling at the moment. And I think they're going to go for a full-scale rebuild. I think it has to happen. I think they've got to trade DeRozan. They've got to trade LaVine. Westbrook's there for 1 year, so I don't think he's got much value. But looking at getting rid of Sabonis is probably the biggest one because that's where the most value is going to occur. But he's not even performing too well either. So that's sort of where they're sitting at the moment. And then on top of the standings, we've got the OKC Thunder, who are 14-1. Still don't have Jalen Williams, but still dominating. They're just unbelievable. What a team they are. They are poised to go back-to-back. And then you have the Rockets and the Nuggets. Nuggets are second, 10-3. Rockets 9-3. Lakers 10-4. Spurs 10-4. Timberwolves 9-5, which is probably the top 6 that I did expect. I would have expected the Clippers to be there instead of, I guess, the Spurs, but they're not doing well. They're looking like their legs have busted. I did call the under on them, but I didn't expect them to be this shit going into the season. So for their sake, hopefully they turn it around, but it looks as though that they're going to be really struggling. I might think they'll skim a play-in spot the way they're going, but it doesn't look too good. But what looks good is the Phoenix Suns. They're 8-6 at the moment, and they seem likable again. When you get rid of those egos, and as much as Kevin Durant is a bucket and baller, he was causing some negativity there, I think. I don't think it was his fault. I think the organization trying to trade him was obviously the thing that impacted him the most. But it seems like the Suns are fresh and they're doing really well. Grayson Allen's killing it. He had 10 threes last week. I think I mentioned that in the last pod. He's been balling out. And yeah, the Suns have been really impressive. So there's not really much to say about them. I hope they can sustain it. They can be a 500 team and make a push for potentially a play-in and show that it just needed a bit more of a cohesive unit to sort of push that team forward. And it proves that Dylan Brooks is just a great role player because he's killing it. And everywhere he seems to go, the team seems to have a bit of an identity, a passion, and he's part of the culture big time. And that's why I really like Dylan Brooks. So anyone that hates on him, I will just say get stuffed, mate, because Dylan Brooks is my goat. I fucking love you, Dylan Brooks. I will say it every week how much I love you. Every time I talk about the Phoenix Suns, I will not stop and mention Dylan Brooks every single time because I love that guy. Dylan Brooks, man, what a player. Like, if he ever listens to this pod, I hope he knows that, like, someone loves him, and it's me. A lot of people do. A lot of people do hate him, and I don't care. I'm a big Dylan Brooks guy. Freaking love that guy. So I hope he continues to ball out and just show the baller he is and the player he is. And that's someone that's going to bring guts. That's going to be your enforcer, and that's someone you want in a team that wants to be successful and that wants to win. But yeah, that was a nice little NBA recap. I thought it was going to be quicker than that, but we really went through a lot. Just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. If you do enjoy episodes like this, or this episode specifically, be sure to leave a comment and a 5-star review wherever you do get your podcasts. It'd be also great if you could like and subscribe wherever you do get your podcasts, so we can continue to show this out to people that see sports exactly the way that you do. But without further ado, let's get straight back into it. So we'll move on to the NFL. And look, the first thing I have to address is that Ja'Marr Chase spit on Jalen Ramsey. Disgusting. As much as I love Ja'Marr Chase, I've been a massive fan of Ja'Marr Chase going back in LSU times. He was sort of when I was starting to transition into really supporting the NFL. It was definitely those college days of Burrow and Chase, just watching the film and just seeing highlights on YouTube of that combination, and then bringing that to the Bengals has been really inspiring. They obviously made that really deep Super Bowl run. Didn't win it, but they got there, which was amazing. And just to see Ja'Marr Chase spit on someone, it's disgusting. I can't defend that stuff. Whatever Jalen Ramsey said, he could have said the worst thing about his parents. He could have said the most disgusting things. You do not spit on someone. That is just deplorable in my opinion. And I think he deserves to get whatever consequence comes at him. And I think it's going to be a massive one. So just look out for what happens with Ja'Marr Chase. The Bengals are struggling at the moment. Obviously losing their franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow is a bit of a concern as well on their side. But again, that's something that, yeah, it's very unfortunate to see because I do love Ja'Marr Chase, but I can't defend those actions. I can't. We had the Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. As I look at my score, 27-30 in OT. The Panthers get the win here. I think they were down as much as like 13 points at a stage, especially going into halftime. The Falcons were all over them. 14-3, it looked like the score was at the time. And Bryce Young had an unbelievable performance, 448 yards for 3 touchdowns. Very incredible. It feels like the sophomore Bryce Young has arrived and he's actually finally sort of got into his stride, showing that he can be a franchise quarterback. Maybe not for the as good as others, but like to be someone that can be competitive and help the Panthers move forward. And another person that helped the Panthers move forward is Ted McMillan, which got 138 receiving yards for 2 touchdowns, which was also amazing as well. So those two linking up really well. And then you got Rico Dowdle, not doing too well in the rushing end, but still having a solid big 3 there of offensive weapons is quite good for them. They finally have a really good wide receiver a running back 1, and also Bryce Young, who looks to be QB1 as well. Someone they could like put the future towards. McMillan's a rookie, so seeing him doing well as he did, being probably the highest ranked wide receiver out of his draft class, is quite special as well. So it was awesome to see. As I look at the other matches, we had the Broncos beating the Chiefs on a field kick with Will Lutz getting the big nuts. Will Lutz, miss him at the Saints, getting the field goal victory there. And yeah, the Broncos are showing that they mean serious business this season, and they're going to really compete for the AFC as well. We also had the Rams taking on the Seahawks. We had a field goal miss from the Seahawks to give the Rams the victory there. A massive divisional game to top off, I'm pretty sure, the AFC standings as well. So that was a really, really good game. I think they're the NFC. I think I'm making a big mistake. I always get confused with the bloody conferences, man. Like, I don't know sometimes which ones are which. Like, I'm looking now, they are the AFC. So No, they are the NFC. So bloody hell, I just got to get my conferences right. The Seahawks losing there gave Rams the top of the NFC in line with the Eagles, who they also beat the Lions 16-9, which was quite an impressive victory there. As I look into the table as well, the Lions are struggling. They're not doing as good as they did last season, so they're going to be equipped for a bit of a struggle one. As the Bears, who would have thought the Bears would have been leading the NFC North, 7-3, while the Packers are 6-3, Lions are 6-4, and the Vikings are 4-6. So that's a bit of a crazy competitive NFC North. And then you've got the NFC West, which I spoke about before. It's also really competitive because the 49ers are currently 7-4 at the moment. The Arizona Cardinals, I feel for them because they're not as bad as what their record says. They just haven't been able to get over the hump against these rival divisional teams where the Rams are looking really, really solid. The Seahawks with Jackson Smith and Jigba looking really, really solid. I think getting a little bit unlucky here, but still the Rams just have a really strong defensive unit. Is quite special. And then the Patriots are sitting lonely up there, going 9-2 in the sort of AFC as well when they take on and they defeated the Jets on Thursday Night Football as well. We had the Giants shout out to the Giants and the Eagles who went to WWE Raw. You saw the Giants segment where Scatterboo and Brian Burns and Abdul Carter were like fake fighting the Judgment Day. That was an awesome segment. It was at Madison Square Garden, so it was great to see the Giants there. I do miss Cam Scatterboo. I do miss Jackson Dye. It was great to see Jameis Winston there and actually performing and being able to play. But at the same time, Jackson Dart is really the guy there. So I'm really hoping next year when Neighbours, Scatterboo, and Dart all together that they can be a really competitive team in the NFC East as well. And I think to sort of cap it off, we had the Browns losing to the Ravens. Shador Sanders making his debut with Dylan Gabriel getting injured. He had a decent game, but nothing too special. He did look really upset after the loss. It feels like the pressure is getting to him in terms of just him as a quarterback and being able to play. Like he threw for 47 yards and was only 4 for 16. So that's not really that efficient there. So I don't know about Shador. I do hope he comes back and becomes a better player, but I feel like his draft sort of situation and what happened there going into the 5th round and all that jazz has really affected his career. And it just shows that some quarterbacks that are better than him. And one is looking like obviously Jackson Dart, but even Tyler Shuck, they didn't play this week, the New Orleans Saints, which was probably a good thing for myself and the whole organization because like the Wizards, they bloody suck. I don't know what's with me in choosing shitty American franchise teams. I also go for the White Sox by default. Don't know shit about MLB, but I just know that the White Sox suck. And don't ask me why I chose them as a team as my phone is going off. Nathan Campbell, stop messaging, mate. I'm fucking in a podcast. Anyway, what I was saying was the White Sox say, they suck. But look, I will say, I don't follow MLB, but what I saw from Shohei Ohtani, unbelievable. And the Dodgers are broken. But again, it's hard to really like MLB when there's no salary cap and just teams throw money in. So you're going to see the same teams compete every single year. But it's great to see those Japanese superstars come into MLB and dominate because they're doing really well. And Ohtani looks like to be one of the greatest ever baseball players that's ever stepped foot in an MLB arena. So yeah, that's awesome there. But the last thing I wanted to say, go back to NFL, is Josh Allen is fucking incredible. What a player that man is. He threw for 317 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's just amazing. And like, if he's around the AFC playoffs, you're going to see greatness from him. So just don't count the Bills out. You obviously have the Patriots. You obviously have the Colts. You obviously have the Broncos doing really well, but you can't hide from the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, if they are there, are going to be competing and are going to make a really strong run in the NFL playoffs. And there's about 5 games to go, I'm pretty sure, 5 or 6 games left. So yeah, strap in because NFL is going to be ending as soon as you know. In 3 months, we'll have the Super Bowl and we'll be really excited to talk about that and continue to sort of follow the storylines at the moment and who the regular season awards and stuff are. Planning to bring TJ and Kenny on as a bit of a spoiler to try see if we can talk some NFL and just get on the NFL train and do a bit of a season check-in before playoffs start potentially, but we're working in the background for that as well. And to wrap it off, we had World Cup qualifiers. So going to just talk about the inspiring stories. We had Nigeria taking on Congo, where Congo won in penalties, and that got them to the African World Cup playoffs. So they have a chance to make the World Cup there. So look out for DR Congo. If they do make it, they're going to make some history there. But in terms of other history, there is a man named Troy Parrott who is an Irish legend this weekend. He scored a hat-trick, one in the 96th minute to beat the Hungarians 3-2 to advance to the playoffs of the World Cup qualifications in Europe. Shout out to the Irish. They're going to be really happy drinking all the Guinness around the world. Once Troy Parrott, I think, hit that 96 minute to win the game, I'm pretty sure every single bar in Dublin, every single bar in Ireland, especially bars in Australia where there's a massive Irish presence in St Kilda, would have just sold out completely of Guinness. I think Guinness stock prices would have went up because the amount of people that would have been sculling Guinnesses after that match would have been countless. Would have been a swimming pool. So Troy Parrott, unbelievable. And a few of the Irish friends requested me to bring him up today. So here he is, Troy Parrott. Far out. I'm getting too excited. Scoring a hat-trick to get Ireland to the playoff where they're going to be looking at potentially versing some other teams, Italy being one of them, Albania being another, and also Kosovo as well, and Bosnia, to name a few as well. And I think the best ranked nations leagues where that sort of tournament sort of comes into play is for things like this, where the best ranked nations league teams will come in and make that playoff spot if they haven't finished second. So look out for that. Obviously rooting for Albania. I'm really hoping they can get there, but out of 16 teams, only 4 can qualify to the World Cup. So we'll be keeping a close eye on the playoffs as well. Norway are in the World Cup. I just want to say a quick mention to Norway because they have someone called Erling Haaland that is going to be involved in the World Cup, which is going to be exciting to see. And I think that will strengthen his Ballon d'Or case for sure. But then we got the Premier League this week, which we want to sort of recap or review. We've got Arsenal taking on Tottenham in the North London derby. I think everyone's going to be really excited for that one to sort of cap off this week. I mentioned it last week. I think I forgot to count for international break. But it's going to be Arsenal taking on Tottenham, Newcastle taking on Manchester City, Manchester United taking on Everton, Liverpool taking on Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth against West Ham at Bournemouth, Brighton at home to Brentford, Fulham at home to Sunderland, Leeds at home to Aston Villa, and the first game of the week, which will be Burnley at home to Chelsea. So a really spicy Premier League action for you guys for match week 12, where we'll see whether Man City can catch up to Arsenal, Liverpool make a bit of a comeback to the title conversations, and hopefully United continuing to strive for improvement. I'm just going to say improvement. I'm not going to say we're going to make the European spot. I'm just simply asking for some improvement, please. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up all the sporting news for this week. Thank you once again for listening in. If you did enjoy this episode, again, we put out sporting news every single week. We're looking to obviously top up with some more guests and potential sort of new things that's coming along. You can obviously see a blank white wall. I'm in my new studio. It's coming along real nicely here. And hopefully, as we develop and grow this podcast, we can start putting some nice little things up the wall. Might bring the Collingwood frame back and see how I can sort of design the place to make it look a lot nicer. There is also, obviously, you can see here that I'm working on a webcam for guests. I'm potentially in the future looking to bring in a bit of a small studio on the side where we can have guests come into the house and actually sit down on the microphone and talk all things rather than having us on webcam. Gives us more a bit of a organic feel to the pod and also real-time sort of chats as well, as you know we love to do. So again, it's been your boy Daniel. You're listening to another episode of The Huddle Within. Take care. Hope you have a blessed week, and I'll catch you guys once again next week. Cheers. So that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in and being part of this community where we go beyond the game and into what really matters. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who sees sports just the way that we do. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on my social medias, which will be linked below. Send in your thoughts and even be part of a future episode. Until next time, keep that passion alive, stay in the huddle, and remember, it's always deeper than the game. Cheers.